Welcome to Down in SA, aka Down in San Antonio, Texas, that is. Here you will be a part of the lives of the cool kids who grew up here in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. From the music, culture, society, Big Red, hippo sodas, and breakfast tacos, you will learn the cool elements of our hidden society. So grab a long neck or a shot of tequila, light up a doobie, and say, screw the Alamo. This is who we really are, the cool kids down in SA.
You in Texas or are you in California?
Yeah, no, I'm in Texas.
Oh, in Texas. Okay.
Yeah. So let's start off with part 2.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about
the honky times. I remember that paper, the honky times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was the other publication, the underground publication.
Honky times.
That was the one that was kind of more art
oriented.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. All right, so here we go. In just make sure this thing's recording. Yeah. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to Down in SA. My name is Chick, your host. This is part 2 with artist George Horner. Thank you for being a part of this extended interview of talking about the cool kids and all the things that we did and established in San Antonio. And, we had talked about earlier the museums that were just kind of, always there, the McNay, the Witte, and then, briefly the Texas Institute of Texan Cultures. And then you had brought up the Carver, which was basically used to be a school, a college, and then it was a performance center. And the front gallery would have different African-American artists.
Yeah, there was a Southwest Texas Craft Center.
Oh, that's also. Right. Yeah. So you guys came along as this collective of pop culture, avant-garde culture, had cross-studied with numerous other artists that all had different backgrounds from their schooling and their travels. And you guys came together one day and said, we need to establish our own museum. Tell me how you guys came about that, kicking that idea around, and how it became developed and what it was called.
Well, originally we tried to submit and show our work within kind of the normal venues of San Antonio, but places like the Witte, the place like the Witte and the McNay were too established, and they were not interested in showing local talent, or very rarely. There were few galleries around. I think I can't even think of one that wasn't kind of oriented towards bluebonnets and Western type art, and there weren't any contemporary galleries to my knowledge, and so we. And then there was the yearly show that the San Antonio Art League put on, and we would always submit work to it, and we'd always get rejected. So I think the last 2 times I actually got accepted within that San Antonio Art League show. One of my neons called Chairman was exhibited, and something else, and but Don was rejected, and Norman was rejected, and I think every other artist that we knew that had applied. I was the only one that was accepted, and so we put together. I think by that time we had just become very frustrated with the lack of support and the lack of alternatives to exhibit our work. So we put together the rejection show, and it was on the front porch of Richard and Alice Rodney's apartment building, kind of close by Sac, and it was called the Rejection Show. And so everyone put work out on the porch, and that was the kind of the beginning of it. And then we had a number of pop-up shows. We did a Joseph Boys information show. Don and I did that show together because we were really interested in the German artist Joseph Boys. So we put together a show in an abandoned house next to where I lived with my girlfriend at the time, over on Rainbow, and off of
by Eisenhower.
Yeah,
right on Austin Highway.
Yeah, right off of the Austin Highway. Yeah, it was on Rainbow, and so there was a house, an abandoned house. So Don and I broke into it and put a show together, and then back in the back there was a lot of kind of a wooded area, and we put a show together called Flame of the Forest, and so we made artworks with pieces of just debris and sticks and trash, and we did this. I don't know, and that was the Flame of the Forest was the name of a tree that I saw while I was down in Honduras back in the summer of '73, and I just love that name. So when I came back, I told Don about that, and I said, well, I want to name our next happening the Flame of the Forest, and so in that case it really fit because it was out in this kind of forest area, and then we did a information show on Yves Klein, another artist that we liked, the French artist Yves Klein, and we did that, and that was primarily Don's exhibition, but I had work in it as well, and so we had a number of these kind of galleries without walls kind of things, and just pop-up one-day events and that sort of thing. And we really got to the point we were really frustrated. We really wanted to have a gallery of our own. So Don and I talked to Bob Tiemann from Trinity University. He taught painting at Trinity, and I think Norman had him as a teacher and Don had him as a teacher. I never went to Trinity. And so, but anyway, Don and I talked to Bob Tiemann and said, "Oh, can we rent some space from your studio?" And he said, "Okay." And so that was our first gallery, and then we called it the Mutagenic Muster Gallery, and that was after a magazine that I had put together originally called Mutagenic Muster: The Gathering of the Mutants, and then
where was that located? Where was that located? Where was his gallery at?
Yeah.
Was it near Trinity? Was it north of?
No, it was kind of more downtown area, kind of off of Broadway.
Right. Anyways, continue on. So you got.
Yeah, I think it was near Brooklyn and Dallas streets. Oddly enough,
yeah, okay.
Which I think is really interesting because I was born in Dallas and now I live in Brooklyn, and it was a cross section of those two streets that I discovered later how pertinent those two streets were, But anyway, we that was our first gallery. We were slated to open, and we put a bunch of paintings in it and sculptures and everything. And the place was in really bad shape, and it had lead paint, and it was chipping off the walls. So we painted the walls, and then Bob Tiemann got really pissed off that we painted the walls, and he threw us out. So he kicked us out. So we were closed before we were open. So that was our first gallery. So that made us even more determined to open a space. So then I think Norman found the space on Woodlawn, and it was above a pawn shop there on Woodlawn, and that was the first gallery that we opened up, and it was called SAMOMA. and that was the San Antonio Museum of Modern Art. And we sort of did that as a joke. I mean, we tossed around different ideas like I don't know, like caca, like contemporary art, contemporary artists, or Casa, Contemporary Art San Antonio, which I think there is a place called Casa now. Yeah. And or was anyway, and we were going to call it the Mutagenic Mustard Gallery again, but we had already done that, and we had just gone to New York, and we went to the Museum of Modern Art, and the Whitney Museum and the Metropolitan Museum, and we were just so inspired by all these museums. We wanted to come back and open our own museum. And, and what's a museum? It's a place where the muses reside, and that's all the definition really of a museum. It doesn't have to be a big, sacred temple or anything, and kind of did it to sort of piss people off, the nose at the establishment, and also to give us kind of some instant credibility as well. Right. So there was all this stuff. You're the San Antonio Museum of Modern Art. Wow, you must be serious. It's like, okay, sure we are. No, but we were very serious in our endeavor. But looking back on it, I think it probably would have been more interesting to call it something else, but it is what it is. And we were there for 3 years, and without trying to overinflate our egos or overinflate our importance, I think the thing that the lasting tribute to SAMOMA is the fact that there were so many other galleries that opened up after we closed. There was the Schoen Davenport, the Sol del Rio, Objects Gallery, Mud Gallery, New Day Gallery, and more than anything, Hap Veltman's Blue Star complex. Right. And Hap Veltman, he was the developer who I think he ran the country. He's the one that kind of brought the river to life in contemporary times. Exactly. Everything he touched was golden. Yeah. So he was very, very important to culture in San Antonio. And then he would come to our openings at SAMOMA. He loved SAMOMA, and he was kind of heartbroken when SAMOMA closed. I got a scholarship to go to the University of Chicago to do my graduate studies, and that's kind of why we closed SAMOMA, because I was going away, right. and also because the band, the Number 2 Dinners, was starting up. So Don and Norman were kind of wanted to sort of focus on making music and snorting cocaine and drinking beer rather than running SAMOMA. No, not really, but I mean, there's a certain amount of truth in that. We were all a part of that. Drug, we were all a part of that. Yeah, and I digress. I was trying to think. Oh yeah, but Hap Veltman, then he started the Blue Star complex, which is still in existence to this day. Yeah, and so that I think is our legacy. Not so much what we did, but what we kind of inspired, but also what we did. I mean, we had some great shows. I mean, when Gene Elder had a show there, and he also launched his mayor candidacy from SAMOMA. We kind of backed him running for mayor, and his party was the party. And but it was his whole platform was the arts and how important the arts are to San Antonio's economy and identity. You look at Fiesta, and you look at Hemisphere, and you look at everything else that's tied into the culture of San Antonio. It's all the arts. So
and so much music was built in San Antonio, right? Whether it's been Conjunto, blues, Robert Johnson recording, his early stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just, the arts, of course, is
there's a lot of spiritual things that happened in San Antonio as well. Around the
the Curanderas,
Well, we've got Madame Blavatsky apparently, was in San Antonio, and there is still Don was the president of the Theosophical Society there in San Antonio. Joe Pugliese was the vice president, and Madame Blavatsky, was one of the co-founders of Theosophy. So she apparently buried one of her magical amulets there in San Antonio. And it creates kind of a magic portal in San Antonio. There's all this mysticism involved in San Antonio as well. The missions are absolutely gorgeous. It's an ancient city. There's so much, there's so much history in San Antonio. But we showed Rolando Brazinho, Rudy Trevino, Henry Stein, Jerry Frost, David Story, Felipe Reyes, the San Antonio Contemporary Music Ensemble.
Dickie Rodney had a show there too, right?
Who?
Dickie Rodney?
No. Well, Richard was one of the co-founders, but he left us and opened his own gallery on the river, which didn't last. I think he had one show there, and then he realized that was he couldn't sustain it. And but he was in Nog Diggy Dicky.
Okay.
Which was the show, one of the last shows that we put together, and that Nog Diggy stood for Norman Avila, George Horner, Don Evans, Gene Elder. That was a Nog Diggy. That was the abbreviation, the
acronym for the
well, it was it was the initials of our names, and then Dickie was Richard Rodney, or Dickie Rodney at the time. He goes by Richard now, but Nog Diggy Dickie, and that was a group show. But that's where I made body casts of everyone, and we projected slides on them. So I made that brick spiral right in the middle of the gallery. My brother was building a wall over at my father's house, and I stole all of his bricks and took them over to the gallery and made this big spiral, brick spiral right in the middle of the gallery. So cool. I mean, we did some really cool stuff, crazy stuff, But we showed Dan Smith, Robert Gonzalez, James Elksman, Winna Bathke, Renee Perez and Larry Graber, Charles Winan, A Simple Quirk of Faith, Steve Reynolds, Becky Whitehead, Kathy Hudgens, Dan Withers, Phil Crum, 20 Years of Hard Labor, which was great, Tom McMasters, Kay Stewart, Norman Avila. I had a show there called Mutt Cubism. When we moved, we got kicked out of the show, out of our space at Woodlawn, because somebody broke into our space and ripped the floor out, ripped part of the floor out, and broke into the pawn shop underneath and robbed the pawn shop. So they kind of saw us as a hazard, So we lost. They kicked us out. So then we found the other space on McCullough that has the black and white checkered tiles on the front of it, which I always loved, and I'm so into black and white checkers right now, and I call them go-go checks. I'm doing them on all my paintings right now. Well, in the 60s, DC Comics, they did this little strip at the top of all of their comics, just so you could determined which comics were DC, right? And they called them go-go checks. It lasted for about a year and a half, and that was, but such a silly thing. But I always loved go-go checks. I like the name go-go checks. It's so fucking stupid.
I can't remember the one on McCullough. Where was it? A little ways coming north of the city?
Kind of right off of. I mean, it was a few blocks down from Woodlawn.
Right.
It was pretty close to the other one. It was a one-story building. Had big black and white
I know where
checkered tiles on the front of it.
It was north of Kevin Wagner's card shop on the right-hand side, I think. As you were going north on McCullough.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and my dad, when he moved his doctor's office from the south side, from Little McCreeless to the north side, his office was on McCullough, oddly enough. And then I think my great uncle Wiley Dallas, was a Texas furniture maker, and he made Texas ranch furniture. And it was at Spoke Lake Furniture, very famous there. It was based in San Antonio, and I think it was also on McCullough. So oddly enough, we had all this kind of McCullough
family, unit.
Touchstones and things, that were very meaningful, at least to me. And but that was great. We had these big metal signs, and we just happened to be able to spell the word SAMOMA, with these metal letters that we found. So, and so we hung them up above on the outside of the wall above SAMOMA, and so that was fun. And then that was the number 2 dinners debuted at SAMOMA. Right. I think it was one of the last events that we had there. Bongo Joe, played at one of our openings. That was a lot of fun.
Didn't Sons of Hercules play there once too? Frank,
what's that?
Didn't Sons of Hercules play there one night too? Frank Puglisi's band.
I thought they did. Was it Sons of or was it Riff Raff?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think it was Riff Raff.
I think it was. Really early. I think it was pre Sons of. It might have been Riff Raff.
Early Frank. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Joe Puglisi's brother, Frank Puglisi, who's very influential with the punk scene there and the glam rock scene in San Antonio. He's still around.
Oh yeah,
still doing it. Still making music.
Performer. His whole band's still jamming it when they get out.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to
kind of amazing,
guys. If you never saw the Sex Pistols, you need to see Sons of Hercules for sure.
Yeah. well, it was Joe Puglisi, who brought the Sex Pistols to Randy's Rodeo,
right?
And then he had and then Don's band Ultra opened for them, and then Frank's band. I don't think it was the Sons of Hercules. It was what was the other band?
Oh, the Mystery Dates.
No, it wasn't Mystery Date.
See, that's what happens when you're in a lot of bands.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, wasn't Los Beatniks? No, it was. Well, it doesn't matter. But anyway, they those local San Antonio bands opened for the Sex Pistols, and of course everyone in the crowd Frank's band, they tolerated it somewhat, but Don's band Ultra with like the double guitars and oh my God, the crowd absolutely hated them. They were just people were in the audience just saying "fuck you, get off the stage." I was in the audience going, "What the fuck? We want the Sex Pistols. We don't want these clowns." And I remember Don. Often Don would put the strap on, and he would be carried on stage like a briefcase.
Yeah.
Because like years ago in Flame in the Forest, Don and I did a whole series called the Briefcase Series, and we did all these different things about briefcases and just kind of, pine cone briefcase and stone briefcase, and it's made all this weird stuff. And so he wanted to become the human briefcase, so he strapped this wooden strap around him, and the drummer picked him up and carried him up. He was going to pick him up and carry him up on stage and set him down like a briefcase, and he was going to jump up. So he picked him up and carried him up on stage, and the strap broke, and then Don just fell on the stage. But he recovered, got up, and acted like that was supposed to happen, And but that was wild. That was a wild night. The Sex Pistols night. My God. Yeah.
Right. Oh, definitely, man. Very.
Yeah. That was another San Antonio happening. But.
So you guys split apart because some burglars go tearing through the roof down to the pawn shop. You reset over in McCullough. When you guys were on Woodlawn, who walked into the gallery to see one of the shows that you guys just didn't expect to see, whether it was some political from San Antonio, whether it was some other artist or just some tourist that you found out later, that maybe it was Jeremy Irons, or was there anybody that you're there and you walked out to talk with them and you go oh, wow, how did you find us? Did you ever have one of those moments there?
Oh boy. I don't think so. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I'm not sure.
Our lives always.
We're talking 50 years ago.
I know, but we remember a lot of things, and then all of a sudden,
yeah, we do. It's amazing the things we remember and the things we forget. There's one of my posters that says. The more we know, the more we forget. And the more we forget, the less we know. So the less we know, the less we forget. And the less we forget, the more we know. So there you go.
You have the best posters, man.
Yeah. And but I'm trying to.
How long did McCullough stay open? What was the final?
Well, I think we were open for about 3 years. We opened in 76, we closed in 79, and so it was about a year and a half in each space, something like that. Maybe 1 year at Woodlawn and 2 years at McCullough, right. something like that. They were both interesting spaces. I particularly loved the space at Woodlawn. It was just kind of a big open space. It looked like a New York space.
Yeah.
The McCullough space was more of a storefront space.
You had to go up the stairs up the back, right? Off to the side there.
At Woodlawn?
Yeah, at Woodlawn. You have to go
I think that's how they broke in. They came in through that back, the back stairs and broke in through the window. And then they had the front stairs, going up. And I painted they had a tin ceiling, and I painted it blue to look like sky when you kind of came into the space.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I sanded the floors, and oh God, I sanded the floors, pulled up all the tiles and sanded the floors at the McCullough building. I remember Don and Norman, they didn't want to have anything to do with that. They were like, no, we don't want to do that. It's too much work. And I'm like, fuck you, This is, I want a nice space, because I opened McCullough with my show. Cubism. And so I just wanted to make sure the show was the space was nice, and it was, it looked great. So, but I was a little pissed at Don and Norman for not. They just didn't want to do it. They didn't want to put the work in, and I was like, okay, Well, that was unfortunate, but that's okay. They had a lot of other things going on in their life.
Yeah,
I get it.
They're coking and drinking and playing in the band.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Who wanted to do anything?
No, that was before that, but I think it was just sort of like they kind of were pissed that I took it upon myself to do it without kind of consulting them, because it's kind of like, well, I can do it, so okay, well then you're going to do it, kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, but yeah, that's all right. It turned out fine in the long run,
So let's bring part 2 to a close for our audience. We're with George Hornert, artist, past San Antonio resident of Brooklyn, New York, and we'll be rejoined by him for a part 3. We'll swing over into a different world of San Antonio that branches off into other cultural relics, to say the least. We'll talk about Wonderland. We'll talk about Mercrelis. We'll talk about joint effort on Broadway. We'll talk about all these different, avant-garde.
Mr. Natural.
Yeah,
remember Mr. Natural? I painted a mural in Mr. Natural. That was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're going to close here. Thank you for joining us here at Down in SA, and we'll be back with George right after this.